Tensions in the South China Sea are reaching a fever pitch as the Philippines and China exchange heated accusations following a dramatic maritime showdown. This resource-rich waterway, vital for global trade, has become a hotspot for confrontations. And this latest incident could reshape international relations. But here's where it gets controversial. Who really provoked the clash? And what does it mean for the future of these disputed waters? Picture this. On October 12, 2025, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel, numbered 2559, deployed a powerful water cannon against a Philippine Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources ship called the BRP Datu Pagbuaya. The scene, captured in a handout image from the Philippine Coast Guard and shared via Reuters, shows the intense standoff near contested islands in the South China Sea. It's a reminder of how these waters, often called the Mediterranean of the East, are not just about fishing rights, but about sovereignty, security, and massive economic stakes. Think billions in annual trade routes that connect Asia to the rest of the world. From Manila and Beijing, the story unfolds with both sides claiming innocence. The Philippine Coast Guard reported that Chinese maritime forces employed water cannons and even rammed one of their vessels near Thitu Island, known locally as Pag-asa Island. They called these actions a clear threat, painting it as an unprovoked aggression that endangered lives and livelihoods. According to Manila, 3 Filipino ships were anchored there early Sunday as part of a protective program for local fishermen who rely on these waters for their daily catch. Suddenly, Chinese vessels approached, using water cannons to intimidate them. Then, about an hour later, a Chinese Coast Guard ship fired its water cannon directly at a Philippine vessel and collided with its rear end, causing some minor damage, but thankfully, no injuries. And this is the part most people miss. The underlying program aims to shield fishermen from harassment, but it often escalates into broader geopolitical flashpoints. For beginners, imagine the South China Sea as a vast, ocean-based chessboard where countries maneuver for control over tiny islands, reefs, and shoals. These spots aren't just rocks. They can justify claims to vast underwater resources like oil and gas. And they provide strategic military advantages. China's Coast Guard tells a different story, accusing 2 Philippine government vessels of illegally entering waters near Sandy Cay, a coral reef in the northern Thitu Reefs, which are part of the Spratly Islands, a cluster of over 100 islets disputed by multiple nations. Beijing insists that a Philippine ship dangerously approached a Chinese Coast Guard vessel, shifting the blame to Manila for the ensuing collision. It's a classic case of he said, she said, where each side's narrative paints the other as the aggressor. Philippine officials are standing firm, pledging to keep up their operations in the area to safeguard Filipino fishermen's way of life. This isn't the first time. The Spratly Islands have seen repeated clashes over the years, with tensions spiking lately around places like Scarborough Shoal, another contested hotspot where China has effectively controlled access since a 2012 standoff. To put this in perspective, China claims nearly the entire South China Sea under its infamous 9-dash line, a U-shaped boundary that's been rejected by international courts as having no legal basis. Yet, other nations like Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam also lay claim to portions, creating a powder keg. The waterway handles over $3 trillion in annual shipborne commerce, making stability crucial for global economies. For example, disruptions here could delay shipments of electronics from factories in Vietnam or oil from Middle Eastern suppliers, affecting everything from your smartphone to fuel prices at the pump. But here's the controversial twist. Is China's assertiveness a matter of national defense, as Beijing claims, or an overreach that bullies smaller neighbors? Critics argue China's actions, like building artificial islands with military facilities, turn the sea into a Chinese lake, while supporters see it as protecting legitimate interests against what they view as provocative Philippine patrols. This incident might just be the tip of the iceberg, raising questions about whether diplomacy can prevail, or if we're headed toward more serious conflicts. Reporting by Phuong Nguyen in Hanoi, Karen Lema in Manila, Selena Lee in Hong Kong, and Eduardo Baptista in Beijing. With editing by Raju Gopalakrishnan. Our standards, the Thomson Reuters Trust Principles. What do you think? Does China's approach strengthen regional security? Or does it unfairly dominate? Is the Philippines justified in defending its fishermen? Or are they risking escalation? Share your opinions in the comments below. This is a debate worth having.